Imagine a time before refrigerators. No freezers humming in the kitchen, no vacuum-sealed bags, no grocery store down the road. You have a successful hunt, enough meat to feed your family for weeks. But if you can't keep it from spoiling, it will rot within days. For Native American communities, this was a life-or-death problem they solved with ingenuity, science, and patience. What if I told you they mastered techniques that kept meat edible for months? Sometimes even years. Methods that required no electricity, no chemicals, and no modern equipment. Today, we're unearthing these lost meat preservation techniques, from smokehouses and drying racks to the legendary survival food pemmican. We'll explore how these techniques worked, why they were so effective, and what we can still learn from them today. A fresh kill meant abundance, but also risk. Without preservation, a bison or deer carcass could spoil in days, especially in summer. That meant wasted food, wasted effort, and potential starvation later in the year. Native Americans faced this challenge head-on, developing preservation methods tailored to their climate. In cold northern winters, freezing meat outdoors was an option. But in warmer regions, or during spring and fall hunts, more complex solutions were required. Preservation wasn't just about preventing rot. It was about transforming meat into something portable, durable, and easy to store, so that food security was possible even during long migrations or harsh winters. Drying meat was the simplest and most widespread preservation method. Hunters sliced meat into thin strips, removing as much fat as possible to prevent rancidity. These strips were hung on wooden racks or laid over branches, exposed to wind and sun until they lost most of their moisture. In arid climates, this could be done without fire. In more humid regions, smoke or low heat was used to speed the process and discourage insects. The result was a lightweight, concentrated form of protein that could last for months when kept dry. These dried strips could be eaten as is or rehydrated in soups and stews. Drying turned large, unwieldy harvests into portable survival rations, a critical breakthrough for nomadic and semi-nomadic tribes. Smoke wasn't just for taste, it was chemistry at work. When meat was hung over a smoldering fire, the smoke coated it with phenolic compounds and creosote that slowed bacterial growth. The heat helped drive out moisture, while the smoke added a protective layer that insects disliked. Smokehouses or smoke pits were sometimes used for large-scale preservation. Hunters would build frameworks of poles, hang the meat high above a slow fire, and keep it smoking for hours or even days. This method produced a deep, smoky flavor, but more importantly, it bought time. Properly smoked meat could last months if kept dry. While fat could cause spoilage if left on drying meat, it became a powerful preservative when used correctly. Rendered fat, melted and purified, was poured over cooked or dried meat in containers, sealing it from air and bacteria. This method created a barrier that extended shelf life dramatically. This principle would later be perfected in pemmican, one of the most legendary survival foods ever made. Pemmican was the pinnacle of Native American meat preservation technology. First, meat was dried until brittle, then pounded into a fine powder. This powder was mixed with melted fat, and sometimes dried berries for flavor and extra nutrition, then packed into rawhide bags. The result was a dense, high-calorie food that could last for years without spoiling. It was lightweight, easy to carry, and incredibly nutrient-dense, perfect for hunters, warriors, and long-distance travelers. Pemmican became so valuable that it served as a trade commodity with European fur traders, fueling entire economies. Modern survivalists still make pemmican because of its unmatched shelf life and efficiency. In some regions, native peoples allowed meat or fish to ferment under controlled conditions. This was risky, but produced highly nutritious food when done correctly. In the Arctic, Inuit communities made iguanak, fermented walrus or seal meat buried under stones and left to age for months. This preserved meat through biochemical processes that pre-digested it, making it easier to metabolize in cold conditions. While this method required skill to avoid spoilage, it demonstrated a deep understanding of natural fermentation long before modern science explained it. In northern regions, freezing was a natural solution. Meat was stored in snow pits, buried under ice, or hung high on racks to keep it away from predators. Winter temperatures acted as a freezer, keeping meat edible for months. But even this required strategy. Too much exposure could lead to freezer burn-like drying, while improper protection could invite scavengers. Villages sometimes built cache platforms or stone cairns to protect stored meat, turning the landscape itself into a cold storage facility. Preservation wasn't an individual job, it was a communal event. After a successful bison hunt, entire villages would gather to process meat. Strips were cut, fat was rendered, fires were built, and children helped chase away scavenging dogs. Working together meant processing could be done quickly, preventing spoilage. And because food was shared, everyone had a stake in the outcome. This collective approach also built social bonds. Preservation was part of the rhythm of life, tied to feasts, ceremonies, and seasonal migrations. So there you have it, the ingenious meat preservation methods that kept Native American communities alive and thriving through the harshest winters. Which technique fascinated you most? The smokehouse method, the rendering of fat, or the legendary pemmican? Tell me in the comments. I'd love to hear which one you'd try yourself. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit like, share this video with a friend who loves survival skills, and subscribe for more incredible stories of human ingenuity. And if you want to take it further, try learning one of these techniques yourself. Build a small smoker, experiment with drying meat, or make a batch of pemmican. You might just find that ancient knowledge makes you feel more connected, more prepared, and more resilient. Because survival isn't just about the future. It's about remembering what our ancestors already knew.